obviously, it's WrestleMania season, and everyone has a lot of focus on the WWE, but AEW's pay-per-view certainly commanded a lot of attention. The problem is that they may have set the bar a little too high for themselves. Still an amazing night, but let's talk about it. So, yes, AEW Dynasty going down in Canada, out in Vancouver on Sunday night. First of all, love me a good Sunday pay-per-view. I know Saturday has kind of become the thing, but just there was some about like getting ready on Sunday during the day, watching the Raptor game for a little bit, and just like, you know what, this is what Sunday was. You know, you kind of live your day on Sunday, get stuff ready for the next week, and then at the end of the night, boom, pay-per-view is on. Let's go have some wrestling. I liked it. And now, I liked it better with WWE because you have Raw on Monday and you just get to go right into it. But still, there's something a little nostalgic about a Sunday pay-per-view. And it was a really, really good show. I do think they've set the bar a little too high for themselves as of late. And I don't know if they got to that high of a level. And I'm not just talking about like the blood and guts stuff on pay-per-view and the death matches and everything there, but just the quality of in-ring competition that they have had on Dynamite has been a lot for them to kind of live up to. And this show, again, had some amazing in-ring work, but it just, because of the level that they have set on Dynamite, it felt like a really, really good episode of Dynamite, which I don't think is what you want from your pay-per-view, especially when you've just had one. So it's tough because they have obviously made an effort to try to set that bar high for themselves this year. And I think on the last pay-per-view, you were able to get a few things kind of manufactured with like Copeland coming back and a couple of other big returns and debuts and stuff like that. And this one, honestly, like with MJF making his way up to the stage at the end of the night, I was kind of expecting, okay, here comes big reveal. I don't know who it's going to be, but big reveal. And then he just kind of goes down and that's the end of the show. And again, it's a good show. It's a really good show. But there was just part of me that was like, that's not normally what AEW does on pay-per-view. So just a couple of thoughts I had there. But overall, like the main event, we're not going to get into the whole card. Just to be perfectly honest, haven't watched the whole thing yet. Kind of joined it in progress on Sunday. And so want to kind of get a feel for how everything else was. But want to talk about the main event. I do think MJF winning makes a lot of sense. I think there are just more options right now for him. When we did that whole thing where it was Swerve and Swerve and Omega and Hangman all kind of standing around looking for their title shot. You kind of saw laid out what the next few months were going to look like for MJF. Now having Darby Allin win the number one contender match early in the night, I think that kind of made it make a bit more sense too. Kenny Omega, it kind of struck me. Like he's walking down to the ring, he has the old music, he's standing there, and no, he is not what he once was. You had a bit of a stumble early on in this match. Still phenomenal, like still one of the best wrestlers in the world, but it did kind of hit like, man, this was one of the best wrestlers on the planet, and I think you could start to have the conversations of where he fits in all time in professional wrestling in terms of in-ring ability and everything like that. So it felt like a really, really cool deal to watch him on pay-per-view again, but he doesn't need the belt. I would like to see him have maybe a babyface run here with the championship, but there's also a lot of guys who I would like to see in that spot, maybe a little bit more than him at this point in his career. So that's where AEW is at, balancing some of the vets with the not quite as vets right now and how to get the most out of it. And one of the interesting ones now is Darby Allin, who will get the opportunity against MJF at Spring Breakthrough. I think it's Spring Breakthrough that they're calling it on Wednesday in Seattle. It's in Darby Allin's hometown. I don't think that him winning makes a ton of sense. I do think it's interesting given that it is in his hometown, but I don't know if it makes a ton of sense to just do it with no real build. I think if you wanted to do it and build it up over a couple of weeks, months even, have Darby lose by way of nefarious means for MJF, and then him get his rematch at a pay-per-view and then get the win there. I think that does kind of check the box maybe a little bit better, because I do think Darby should be the world champion at some point, and we'll talk about it later in the week, looking at the rest of the week or looking at the rest of the kind of calendar into the summer here for AEW, I do believe that a lot is going to be building towards Will Ospreay winning the title at Wembley. And I think it means more if it's coming off of MJF, right? So not to just like lock your champion in for a while, and now none of the matches really mean anything. But I do wonder if that's kind of where they're going. So I don't know if the title change makes sense, but MJF winning here made all the sense in the world. And I think now an interesting story to be told with Darby, and to see where they kind of go from there. But overall, like I said, a really good night of wrestling from what I've seen already. It wasn't the like, oh my god, show of the year that AEW has been constantly churning out as of late. What do you guys think? Am I underselling this a little bit? And do you think Darby Allin could be the next AEW champion? Let me know in the comments or in the chat if you are watching this live, and we can keep the conversation going there. And while you're at it, hit that share button. Again, trying to grow this thing, whether it be on YouTube, or in the podcast. Share the episode, share the clip here with your friends. Let's keep the wrestling convos going. Because again, trying to grow this thing beyond 1,000 episodes.